May the force be with you is a phrase used to wish a person well to overcome a challenge. The invitation in this podcast, May the life force be with you, is to explore what it means to truly feel alive, to appreciate the physical, emotional and spiritual connection to our energy, and finally to understand how this impacts who you are and all that you do. May this conversation inspire you to thrive. This episode of May the Life Force Be With You is brought to you by Moment Company and the Moment Pebble. The Moment Pebble is a beautiful, natural stone, light-guided breathing device and is a unique gift for someone who needs that gentle reminder to stop and take a break, to take moments throughout their busy day and to practice mindfulness. Just head over to momentcompany.co, that's momentcompany.co, and enter the code LIFEFORCE at checkout to receive an exclusive 10% podcast discount.
So, our intention for this episode is to talk about Auld Lang Syne, is to tune into the new year and consider, maybe integrate the old year. And as always, our intention with this conversation is to inspire everybody listening to think, feel, and work with their life force energy more.
Thank you for that. And you beat me to one of the things that I wanted to talk about, or one of the things that I considered with our recording this as a New Year kind of special is that New Year in Scotland is big. For anyone that isn't Scottish,
It is big.
New Year is what it's like Thanksgiving is to Americans. Like, we love New Year in Scotland. So much so we have a unique name for it, which is Hogmanay, and that's New Year's Eve. And so for anybody that isn't, that's a great question. That is a great question. I did a little bit of research and we were going to talk about this. And Hogmanay has a number of different possible sources, heritage. And some say it's Gaelic, which makes sense with French and, the Gaelic and Gaelic, it kind of makes sense. Others say that there is a Nordic and Norse background to it, which I feel also makes sense. And then Greek as well. So the root of it in Greek apparently is holy month. Wow. So that's what it means. And then there's also, it goes back again. If we look at the Norse times, it's considered a celebration of winter solstice, which is a follow-on from our previous conversation. Yeah. So, and then there's the near year, the new year, and so there has different background and connotations, and the rituals, the traditions behind it have evolved and changed over the years as well. There you go.
And so what's a traditional Hogmanay in Scotland?
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay. We call it Hogmanay down south. Or in the other country that is England.
Or Hoot Nanny that Jules Holland calls it on radio, on BBC Two. It's a famous musical event on New Year's Eve as well. So there's one of the traditions is called. I actually just quickly on the heritage, which I thought you would appreciate. It's also the Samhain kind of. Samhain, is that how you say it? Samhain kind of.
Yeah, Samhain is another.
Yeah.
Samhain is another word that people can't say based on how it's spelled.
There you go. Yeah. So it's connected to Hogmanay as well, and that kind of winter solstice and that kind of time in between the New Year and Christmas and or solstice in the New Year. So there's a ton of different sources.
That's interesting because the pagan calendar, Samhain, is New Year. Samhain is Halloween.
Samhain.
So in the pagan calendar, the year starts in Samhain on Halloween. That's the New Year. Obviously, it's then become the winter solstice. In modern times, it's January. And my guides say that the most accurate one for our times is actually the Chinese one. And so they have this thing that January is a bridge month. The whole month is when the year ends and kind of wraps up, and then the new year begins. And they say that starts from the solstice, and you have this like transition of the year time. And so that Scottish instinct is definitely aligned with that guidance.
Yeah, definitely. And there's the Gaelic celebration of Samhain, again, depending on and then Vikings and other Nordic countries had the Yule and Yuletide. And so there's there's the different types of traditions and things that are that kind of what do we call it now, like the in-between days. There's a phrase that's used, I can't think what it is, those like days where you don't know what day of the week it is and you just get lost because there's no routine and your life force energy is just basically topped up by Baileys and chocolate or whatever it is. It's your boat, pigs and blankets, I don't know. And yeah, it's a strange kind of time to rest and reflect, I guess, what's going into the new year. But some of the other traditions, so you asked about traditions in Scotland. So we have something very unique called first footing, which so I love the fact that you don't know about this. This is awesome. Because obviously we've got your rituals and I'm like, this is what we do in Scotland. So I remember my English family when I was little coming up to stay with us, and they're going, this is bizarre. What do you mean you all just start your parties at midnight? So in England, it blows me away that people like go out and they celebrate and it chimes midnight and then they all go to bed. When it chimes midnight in Scotland, that's when you start partying and you do something.
I love that.
And so you then go on first foot, and first footing is when you go to someone else's house and you take a gesture of goodwill for the new year. And latterly you would take shortbread or a bottle of whiskey or a drink or something like that. But you don't have to know the person that comes to your house. And I remember my mum, who's English, her family coming to stay with us, and they're going, what do you mean you don't know that person that you've just invited in and sitting in the room having a glass of whiskey? We're like, it's New Year. That's what you do. You just go around people's houses. So you see a light on and a door open and you walk in and you wish them Happy New Year. But you have to have
amazing.
You have to have a gesture with you because it brings good luck to you and to the home that is recipient. So you always bring something with you when you first foot. And in the sort of 1960s, when it started, it was around gifts for children and kind of like around fighting poverty, but also a lump of coal. And it goes with the saying in Scottish, lang may your lum reek, which my dad used to say.
Say that again.
Lang may your lum reek. Have a guess. Any ideas?
No. Long, something about long?
Yeah. So the official phrase.
Long, only because of lang syne. I presume lang syne is the old long year end, right? So yeah, I got the long. Go on.
Lang may your lum, so lum is chimney and reek smoke. Or as my dad used to say, long may your chimney continue to perpetuate smoke. So it means good luck. It means good luck and warmth and health to your home.
Which is like a life force blessing.
It basically is.
It's like, may your house be warm.
Yeah.
May your fire be burning.
May your fire always burn.
That's lovely.
And so the tradition was you would have a lump of coal. And my friend and I were talking about it today. I don't know if we made this up, but I feel there's also tradition that if a tall, dark, handsome man crossed the threshold or was the first person to cross your threshold, it was particularly good luck. I wonder if that's true. So, but yeah, so that's how we celebrate. And then obviously, I was going to finish up by saying that we sing Auld Lang Syne, which is a Rabbie Burns poem. And
Yeah.
that's now synonymous
I mean,
across
we
the
sing it too.
world.
Well, we don't
Yeah.
sing it. We sing the Auld Lang Syne bit, and
Yeah.
everybody just mumbles the rest. But like we do, everybody goes da da. An Auld Lang Syne. Nobody actually knows the rest of the words. Maybe they do in Scotland. Definitely
So
don't in England.
it's a very, very popular song, obviously. So, should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and the days of Auld Lang Syne? So that's, and then we'll drink a cup of wine
She
this year
knows.
for the sake of Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, my dear. Okay, I'm not going to go, but so that's just some of them. But
See, you
it's
know the words. Like in England, nobody knows the words. Nobody does. Like the pubs are like, and old lang. We only know the old lang syne bit, 100%.
along with Bonnie Bonnie Banks of Loch Lomond, it's like the final song at many a Scottish gathering. So, um, Caledonia. But so yeah, that's some of the traditions that we have that are different, and it is about marking the end of the year. It's about a gesture of goodwill, good faith, good luck and fortune that you share in your community. And it's also why in Scotland we have the 2nd of January off as a public holiday because everybody's still drunk because they don't start partying until
That's what I was
midnight.
going to say. You are a non-drinker,
I am,
and is it?
but I
How
wasn't.
is Hogmanay in Scotland when you don't drink?
I don't believe I have
You've
had
done it
a New Year's in Scotland. No, I haven't.
sober.
Uh, but actually, Kahreela, on that point, the last 2 years I have spent my New Year Eve by Hogmanay and then my New Year's Day with you.
You have.
I have the last
You
2 years.
have.
Mm-hmm. And
Which
you're
is very sober. I
very,
just have this thing, you know, that for me, I think it's really important to honor the end of the year. And then it's really important to start your year well. Like, I have it, like for me, I want to start my year well. And it used to upset me so much when I would spend the first day of the year
mm-hmm.
hungover, eating rubbish food and watching rubbish TV. And I know so many people do that, and I don't want to be judgmental, but I felt like I was starting my year on
Behind.
a like lower vibrate. Like I thought I was doing a disservice to myself. I was like, you can be hungover any other day of the year. Like, but don't start your year like that.
I agree. I agree. And I have to say that the 2 years, how many New Years have I had sober? 4? And the last 2 that I've spent with you in ceremony in different ways, shapes, and forms were transformative. They really were because it did give me a different perspective on the year ahead. It gave me a different energy. I had the chance to stop on New Year's Eve, on Hogmanay and reflect and be kind to myself and have a gentle entry into the new year and not to be like crash bang wallop and emotional times. And it was soft, it was kind, it was fun, and a different type of experience. And to me that felt an important way to mark it in my time that I'm having now. So to be, for those of you that don't know what Kahreela does, but to be held in kind of dance, in music, in guided meditation, with cacao, with beautiful,
Well,
release.
that's Grazia, who I've already said we'll have on the show. She does an amazing. Grazia and Michelle really do all of the dance and the cacao, and they do an amazing sober, conscious, kirtan, heart-opening New Year celebration. That has been my regular New Year for 3 years, maybe.
And then, well, in New Year's Eve, we did 8 hours in sauna, and we sweat lodged our way into the new year with chakra cleansing, and that was amazing.
You're getting it the wrong way around. That's Grazia's New Year's Eve, and then New Year's Day.
New Year's Day, that's what I mean.
The sweat and the sound. Yeah. And yeah, it's amazing to, the sweat and sound. My guide, I don't know if I've said this on the show before, but my guides say that sweat is the first medicine. They're like, you should, before you do anything else, before you take any other medicine, sweat. And so I'm like, the first day of the year, and, sound is our primary sense. It's our first way we understand the world. And so for me, sweating and sounding feels like nice first things to do on the first day of the year, and just sweating the old year out, because, the old year, I think it's so important to me in gratitude for Auld Lang Syne.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you don't want to carry the stuff that you've done in the year before into the new year,
Yeah, you want to sweat it out. Let it go.
Yeah.
It was a huge form of release and transformation, me doing that. It really was. That's when I got hooked on the Kahreela drug. I was like, there's something in this. I need more. And actually last year,
there was magic.
No, so that was 2 years ago. And then I also came to you right after the new year, because I'd had such a transformative, like, sober, I know it's not for everybody, but I'd had the sober, reflective kind of year. And I was like, okay, I need some more Kahreela magic for this year turning into 2023. And I came to speak to you and have a channel session with you. And it was in that session that we started to talk about, or you'd said, I think we're supposed to work together.
I know. I'm so happy you came for that, because we couldn't do the sweat that year because the big sweat was closed. The big beach box that we used for a big group wasn't open because they were doing building work. And, it's amazing what happened. I've been very grateful for the sweat, because I know the sweat is the reason you came to that session. Mm-hmm. And then that session is really the reason we have May the Life Force be with you. And this new year, we have something new and exciting starting as well, which I am just so excited about, which is the Life Force Cafe starts on the first day of the year.
Tell everybody more, Kahreela.
So the Life Force Cafe, basically, if you're a May the Life Force be with you regular, I don't know about you guys, but we've been coming out of the conversations going, we'd really like to go deeper with that person, or we'd really like to explore that more. Like,
so many questions.
So many. And so the Life Force Cafe is a online subscription where we will go deeper, and people are going to do workshops, and the guests are going to come in and do workshops or Q&As or deep dives. We're going to do stuff. Fiona's going to bring all of her mindfulness knowledge in. I'm going to bring all of the channel knowledge in. There's also going to be lots and lots of community, because as Scottish New Year teaches you, actually one of the most life force giving things is being in community and helping each other. And there's going to be a massive library with all sorts of contents for how to improve your life force. I just love it. I'm so excited about it. Every time I talk about it, I'm like, woo, the Life Force Cafe.
And also a chance to Yeah, well, it's also, I see it as a great chance for people to give us some feedback too. So, what are the areas of life force that you're really interested in that we can explore? There's an opportunity to kind of contribute in that regard and to ask us questions, and we'll hold those live sessions each month. And we're here to offer that support as well. Maybe some people have some challenges they'd like to ask the community, for help with, or they have certain curiosities around different types of kind of life force practices or modalities that we can also share, and encourage that community behind the conversations that we're having. So I feel like it has a life force of its own.
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, it does. As does this show, I think. I want to come back to your new year, though, because you're going to be sweating for a different reason.
Yes. Yes.
What are you doing on New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day? How are you hogmanaying? Have I said it right? Hogmanaying.
Hogmanay. Close. So I'm here with in Australia with my oldest friend. We've been friends since preschool, since we're 4 years old. So friends for 46 years is quite incredible. And I'm at her house, and I'm very lucky. She has a lovely pool, and three amazing kids. And it's quite likely that we're all just going to have a party and hang out at the pool and have a bit of a dance around. And I've probably spent, I don't know, I've spent a good few New Year's here in the past. So yeah, I know the community around here. It's great. And we'll probably just kind of stay at home, and then dog walks on the beach New Year's Day. I kind of prefer New Year's Day to New Year's Eve. For me, there's a sense of release that comes with the anticipation of New Year, which I've always found to be quite a disappointment. What did you do on the millennium, by the way? How did you mark that?
The millennium, I was in London, watching the fireworks on the river. I wasn't quite old enough to go clubbing. I think
Do you
I
know
was
how I spent it?
50. How did you spend it?
I lived in Glasgow at the time, and I worked for Hilton Hotels, and I worked on the IT help desk, and I got paid half my year's salary, which was about £3.50, to work New Year's Eve in case all the computers went down in the hotels. And so it was the Y2K project. And I'd spent the year before going around all the hotels telling them how to use computers. This is how old it was when you think about it now. And I watched Ali G on a wheeled in TV with the pack of cheesy Wotsits, and that's how I brought in like the new year. And then I also had, I think I managed to finish slightly early, and went with some friends to like a local bar in Glasgow. But it was just not quite how I'd imagined spending New Year and first day of 2000.
It's funny you mentioned that, because like I have this, we were talking last night on one of the community times about, how lucky younger people are these days, because they're so conscious, and they're being brought up by more conscious people, and there's this greater awareness of support and everything like that. And people on the group were saying, I wish I knew what it was like to be given what these younger people are given, like meditation and mindfulness practices when you were growing up. And I was like, yeah, but then you'd miss the last great party. Then you wouldn't get to go to the last great party of Pisces. And we partied hard. Like the last party of Pisces was an amazing time to be young. Like, I bet that even though you did computers and what's it, when you went out, it was amazing.
Well, I'm 10 years older than you, so my party days were in the 90s and late 80s and early 90s.
Which is part of the last great party of the Pisces. To me, like the whole of the last part of the 20th century is the greatest party of the end of the Piscean era. And I am like, it was such a good party.
It was. It was. And
what was your best New Year? In terms of Piscean New Year, what was your greatest?
probably my first year in Australia, I think. Like, I had some fun ones as teenagers. We used to all gather. I said to my friend, said, you have to talk about the steeple in my hometown, Arbroath. We used to all gather at the steeple, which was like the centre of town. And the New Year's would get marked by the clock donging, and you get a snog under the Christmas tree, at New Year. And that was very exciting when you were like 16, 17. There's those years. And then I think probably and then probably my first time in Australia, and I went to the Sydney fireworks, which obviously is globally considered like worst marking.
The
And
best.
and we had a picnic. Some really dear friends of mine who live over here, and we got a picnic blanket out and sat on Goat Island. We had to get a boat there, and we watched the fireworks from the Harbour Bridge. So that was pretty special.
That sounds really special. And I love fireworks, actually. I know animal lovers, people with pets do not love them, but I feel like fireworks have this way of filling people, where they fill people with this wonder and life force energy. There's something about the beauty of them. And I think we've talked before about how fire is very giving of life force energy to us. And I think fire in that form just repairs your life force energy in a really magical way. So I really like
So what about the new year then? So we're going to, obviously this is our new year, and we're talking about New Year's Eve and that marking of it. But what does the first week of the new year mean to you in your life force? And do you make resolutions? Are you I'm a mind map person. I sit down on the first of every month and mind map rather than resolutions. I kind of plot out almost like a manifestation time. Is it a powerful manifestation period? Or is it more of a reflective? What's your thoughts on that?
So, like I said before, my guidance is that actually a better new year is Imbolc.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the Chinese New Year. It's the beginning of February. There's so much evidence for that being a better time in terms of what's going on in your physical body and energy body for manifestation and for New Year's resolutions in particular. January is like the worst time because like your body's in a rhythm. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it will be different for you in Australia, but like your body's in a rhythm of stillness and slowing down. And actually there's this surge of energy come Imbolc, which is the beginning of spring, which is all about new and breaking through and things like that. And so I probably will I usually set some kind of intention that I never really remember. I don't do anything like I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. I do usually pick a word that is my intention, that I would like it to be like a broad stroke intention. I feel like that's more fitting for January and the bridge month, and then it can be refined come February and Imbolc into actions and things like that. And so
are you able to share?
I kind of use.
Are you able to share what some of your previous words might have been as inspiration?
No, because I can't remember them. I think last winter I was going through a really deep abundance wound. So I would imagine I picked abundance, and I know I was going through a total abundance winter and really struggling. And so I would imagine that it would have been something like worthiness, but abundance, something around. It will be, my word is always in response to my life. So whatever's not flowing, it will be about. And so I would imagine that I picked something like abundance or worthiness, just based on where I was at last winter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that you've mentioned abundance before. I feel that was the case, and that can mean so many different things.
Yeah, I mean, abundance is, whenever I pick abundance, I'm like, am I sure I want to do this? Because I know what this means. It means like, it means like rug pulled out from under you, big shift, upgrading. But I think that winter I was I don't normally get into the like collective consciousness, but I got caught in the collective field of all of the worry about the energy bills and I'd really got attuned
Scarcity.
to that. And so I was really in that place last winter. I'm really, 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 I was struggling for sure in that area. So I'm pretty sure it would be. And you know what's so interesting is, let's say I picked worthiness. I've then worked with all of these mountains, and mountains are the embodiment of worthiness. And I was recently in Glastonbury, which is a place for wishing and intending.
Mm-hmm.
And I was taken up the tour where there's a place where the ley lines cross, and if you stand on it, you can do really powerful manifestation. And I noticed that normally in my manifestations where you get like a wish opportunity, abundance always comes into it. And I noticed that there was no need for that in my system. There was no energy of like, I don't have this in my field, in my system. So if it was my intention, it worked out. What about you? Tell me more about the mind mapping and your intentions, resolutions,
Well, I started this actually the first year I moved to Australia, and I sat on a beach in Melbourne on first and wrote this, and it was I usually have a word in the middle that is a word of the year, whatever that might be. Sometimes it's just me in the middle because that's what feels like it needs to be. And then I usually then just start doodling away, and there's usually a health, a wealth, a love, and a kind of friendship or a kind of, activity based thing as well. And lots of times there's lines that, correlate with each other. And, there's usually some kind of, I guess it's the three-legged stool. You need your good health and, and the money and the happiness. And it's kind of like how I manage each of those. And so I set some form of small goals, but it doesn't always have to be something that it's a goal. It can also be how I want to feel as well, doing those things and what I'm inspired by and what I want to do more of. And actually, that's a really little simple exercise that Alex and I have taken into our Moment Company program, is that when we do the coaching, we ask, what brings you joy? What do you want to throw out? What do you want to stop not serving you? And then what do you want to do more of? What interests you? What you're curious about? And those three places are a really good way to start. If someone's like, I don't even know where to start, I don't know what my New Year's resolutions are, I don't even know how I'm feeling right now. If you can find joy in something, and it can be in the smallest of things, it doesn't have to be, everything at work is perfect or everything in my family life is perfect. It can be, I just really love coffee in the morning. I'm like, great, write that down, and then the throw out doesn't always have to be something awful. And it's okay sometimes if you've nothing to throw out. Don't search for something to be upset about. It's okay if we don't have anything there. The one that I really like is the I'd like to do more of, or I'd like to start, because it shows intention. It shows curiosity, and a little bit of excitement around starting something new, because usually that's because there's an interest or a calling or an intention behind something, where then you can work on, well, what is that longer term goal? But focusing on the long term goal without the what would I like to start, it's kind of hard to know where your destination is. So I feel that's the most important question out of all of those pieces, and kind of
I
for New Year.
I love those questions. I think those questions are a wonderful way to start the year. And I think if you are doing the traditional Hogmanay and getting drunk and being hungover, it's fine to do it any time in January, actually.
Fine
I
to do it
think it's
anytime.
good to be asking those questions throughout that month. The reason I love them from a life force point of view is because I feel like they are, joy is very life force connected. My guidance my guides describe joy as the feeling of receiving to the point of overflowing. And so when you're doing something with joy, you are fully alive with it. You're fully overflowing with your own life force energy, or the life force energy. And then I love that the questions also invite curiosity and new, because new, my guides also say, like, new always has loads of life force energy in it. So, like, do not do exactly the same thing you've done last year. That is the way to age. Like, that is the way to lose your life force energy. Keep learning, keep nourishing. Curiosity is such a wonderful way to discover the new, because a lot of new creates stress, which is losing life force energy, whereas when it's like joyful and curious, and so I just think it's genius. I think it's brilliant, those questions. And I want to ask you, what new thing are you going to do?
I haven't decided yet. So last year I set myself goal. I think I mentioned it on my on a previous podcast, where I had mind, body, spirit. So I wanted to do something to my mind. I studied generative consultant coaching. I wanted to do something for my body, so I did high rocks training and pushed my body to new limits. And then for my soul, I did ayahuasca. So that's how I kind of set intention for this year. And I wanted to do that all before I turned 50. This year I turned 50, so I think I'll probably go into a corner and cry for a little bit, and then I'll come out and find out what it means. And I'm not rushing into anything. To your point, Kahreela, I'm gonna let it unfold. And being in a different environment, like I am now in Australia, and it's actually interesting. Alex and I were talking about it this morning, where I'm kind of in a routine because I'm familiar with this part of the world and the people in it, but I'm not in my home routine. So I'm kind of finding a routine which is in holiday mode but isn't. So it's kind of like I'm in some kind of suspended, it's kind of the perfect reality where you have a routine doing the things that you love, but you don't feel stuck in it because it's still new. So short, long answer to your question is, I'll keep you posted.
That's amazing. I like that you're going to take your time. Yeah. And I think it's definitely worth it when you're changing decade, which we both are.
We both are.
Next year we're both changing decades. I'm turning 40, and that's always a new decade is a big thing,
We should find a numerologist to come on and give us some insight into what having 4 and the 5 in front of us, and what that kind of does to our kind of life force energy and our perception of life force as well, and what it means through the ages. That would be a great conversation.
That would be a great right. That's an intent. Somebody suggest us a somebody listening, find us a numerologist. That's may the life force be with you. Intention is
that's life force.
See if it manifests before we turn decades.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
really, it amazes me how relevant our conversations are, because I actually had a session with David last night, who is our first guest on the Life Force Cafe. And yeah, his conversation was just mind blowing. And I had a session with him because I was like, I'm so disorganized. I need to know where my Saturn is. I need to know about my Saturn because I'm so bad at order.
So just to remind everybody, Nickel is the astrologer we've had on the podcast, and his episode is coming out just about the same time as this one. So if you haven't listened to it, listen to it. And if it's not out yet, listen to it when it goes live, because he's amazing and he really helps us
Amazing.
with predicting 2024, and he's going to be doing more of that in the Life Force Cafe session in January, which I'm so excited about, getting in depth into what 2024 has in store for us all. In fact, maybe we should all hold off on those intentions until we've listened to David's session.
Yeah, wait, which is the end of January he's doing it. So there we go. Because 24 is epic. But anyway, I had this wanting to understand my Saturn. And my Saturn is law and order and being able to organize things and karma. And my Saturn is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is about like the big death and rebirth. And I had this beautiful realization as I was working with David, which is a very experiential way of working, that, you know, Saturn is also in charge of the great order. So I've always perceived it from my personality self as like, oh, Saturn is like doing spreadsheets, being like really tight, you know, and left brain and things that I reject in my personality self. I suddenly understood that actually Saturn, and particularly Saturn in Scorpio, is this, like, it's the fact that the winter always shows up and the years change and the seasons change and the kind of turnings of time and the reliability of time and the order that comes from the honoring of the order and the love and the safety and the reliability of the ever changing that comes from that great turning. And it was really beautiful because I suddenly felt the love of this archetypal aspect that I'd kind of rejected on a personality level. And how beautiful, you know, we live in quite, it's like there's so little safety, and yet time and the passage of time is actually so reliable, you know, like our aging journey,
It happens to
the fact that
everybody.
it's always going to come, like, you know,
Because some
time
goes
is like
with the
where we
other.
can find safety in times of great change. And especially, I think, if you don't resist it and complain about it, but fully surrender and honor it,
Yeah.
there's this power that you can lean into in such a beautiful, reliable way.
It's so true and profound in that the years roll by, they go quickly, and there's something to be said about being as present as we possibly can in the moments to help slow time down in some instances. And that is a beautiful reminder as we say Happy New Year in this episode. And I guess we've got a few things to follow up on. We have numerology, we have David. We'll post information on the Life Force Cafe membership. And from my perspective, the thing that I would like to say to close is Lang me your lum reek.
I'm going to say it too. Long may your lamb reek. May the life force be with you all. Which is Scottish, but may the life force be with you. We hope this conversation has topped up your life force energy. If it has, then please help us spread the life force. Like, share, subscribe, all of that. And may the life force be with all of us.